The Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist, whether you're running, swimming, or sleeping. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. The Apple Watch Series 10. Available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generations, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
Barenaked, 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 ABCs. Welcome to the Barenaked ABCs, where we discuss every single Barenaked Ladies song from 7 to what. Actually, Aaron, I'm getting kind of old and done with this. Maybe you should drive this podcast.
El Queso SVA. Oh, I see what you did there. Wow. Well, you know, I would refuse the weight of this mighty succession, but I have a feeling you won't let me out of your basement unless I do. So I suppose I shall take up the mantle.
I was under the impression, Tracy, that you were the great provider.
Yes, but is he the only one?
Actually, I should respond to
intermittently.
that.
Intermittently.
Yeah.
Hey.
Let's make sure we get our facts straight so the
Okay.
wrong man won't be convicted.
So as long as you keep me in your basement, but you decide you feed me applesauce, my favorite meal, that will be okay.
Do you mean
How do
these
you like
apples?
these apples?
These apples are delicious.
Yep.
Wowza.
All right, we keep recycling all these jokes, you know. Never think
but we
we'll
gotta,
do
like,
it
New again. Yeah.
If we can just find like a little tiny song to do.
Like, it's so tiny we could put it in a nutshell.
So, by the way, amongst all the chaos, you might have recognized a voice you haven't heard on the show in a little while.
I don't know if they'd recognize it, but
Well, you should. Because, well, first of all, so it is I, Aaron, and then sitting next to me,
Betsy.
and we have regular co-hosts.
Tracy.
Well, you're not the regular
job.
co-host. You're just the host, but we're just the parasites. You're the host. A regular co-host. Introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, Jeff.
Semi-regular.
I was like, am I
For a
regular? I'm irregular.
And then even less frequent, but very likely to have him here. Our guest today is Noah Ginex. So you may remember from several earlier episodes, including Pollywog in a Bog, which of course he gave us the wonderful music video.
yes.
Welcome back, Noah. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. This is my favorite. Are we talking about what it is yet?
Why don't you introduce the topic of today's discussion?
The topic of today's discussion is my favorite Barenaked Ladies album, Maybe You Should Drive.
Yay!
Yeah, it is a very good album. It is very good. And I realized, Tracy, when we did our kind of quote unquote finale, because these are the bonus episodes, but when we did the quote unquote finale after we did all the songs, and you talked about how the ratings kind of tumbled out to reveal that my favorite composer was actually Paige Duffy, which explains why I like this album, because there are several Paige Duffy songs on here, and a lot of them are bangers. So.
Yeah, because Ed and Steve weren't really hanging out that
much. This is the beginning of the frayed nerves.
Yeah.
Beginning of
the frayed nerds.
Frayed nerds.
And this album was in your top 5.
Yeah, I believe it. It's kind of a sleeper. It's not one that I think of when I normally am like, oh, my favorite BNL albums. But when I went back and listened, I was like, yeah, you know what? It's a really good album.
Yeah.
Some dissension in the ranks, perhaps.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Tracy's pro Gordon, so
Yeah,
I love some of
you're-
the songs
you're
on
a Gordon
here,
boy.
and then
Hey,
I
Gordon
don't love some
boy.
of the songs on here.
It's a mixed bag to a certain extent, but there's a lot of really good songs on here.
I mean, how could you not like Gordon is like the gold standard by which all the like to their glee or not, like it's the most solid, like just juggernaut of an album until Stunt. Like they have two top to finish, like solid, perfect albums, and then several other great ones. But
Well, but you said this is your favorite, right? So
Oh,
I'm
yeah, this
curious,
is my-
and I
definitely my
think
favorite.
Jeff, is this your favorite as well?
This is also my favorite. Yes.
So I'm really curious to hear what the both of you have to say about this. I have some thoughts, but I mostly want to listen tonight.
Yeah, so I want to start with you two because I had said last week that Gordon I think is one of the best initial albums of all time, and you
I'm gonna
guys
let you finish.
You guys are saying this is your favorite, so
Yeah.
Yeah, except for the finish. They did a little bit of a stumble on the dismount with that fodder. They could have done better with Ballad of Gordon. But we're talking about this week's album. But you guys say that this album is better. Give me your proofs. Start off with your initial statements. Give me your opening
go ahead.
statements
Opening-
about
fair.
the group that maybe
Prosecution,
Drive is
prosecution.
better.
I'll give my opening statement for this. First of all, I think except for one obvious weird insertion in this album, I personally think every song in this album is a banger. When I was going back through and
You'll be waiting
Yes.
before you
Can
hear
I take
me
a
say
little
that.
tiny guess?
you can take a little tiny guess. That's not, and honestly, I hate to say that because I actually went out and I got this signed copy of Drive. And then we really slaved over this one. And no, I got this from Tracy, of course. And thank you, Tracy. And of course Andy signed it, and I always hate to say that, and I of course Little Song is kind of the outlier on the album, but for me, and I went back and I listened to it again today, and I listened to this one a lot. I say it's my album, and once again as I was listening today, I was just overwhelmed by it, and I was re-ranking my songs, and I have a lot of fives on here, honestly, and songs that I didn't necessarily always think were fives when I listened to them today were. One of the things I love about this album, besides it being a strong one when it comes to the Paige Duffy and the Paige songs, especially because I think the Paige Duffy songs in this one are very strong.
Alternative Girlfriend is way up there. For
Alternative
me.
Girlfriend is a 5 song for me.
Yeah, it's a pretty great song.
It's just a straightforward, fun pop of a song. But one thing I love about this album that they play with a lot, and I know they've done it in other albums as well too, is some of the diversity in the music. Aaron, you'll something that you probably hear. A lot of the songs in this album have a really cool knack of completely switching up their style.
Oh yeah,
song. Jane does it to a certain extent. Intermittently does it hugely. I'm trying to think of A does it
a little bit.
A does it a little bit, yeah. But a lot of the songs in this one do that cool little thing. Even the songs that I wouldn't rank as high for me, like These Apples is not as high of a ranker for me as a song. But then that ukulele comes in or the banjo comes in at the end.
Yeah.
And like those little moments, I think they just for me just really sell it. I also love the themes they cover on this one. Steve is bitter on this album. He's playing the asshole character, and a lot of the songs and okay, he is
the author,
but he does it in such a lyrically stellar, biting way. That it works for me. There's just something about the juxtaposition of lyrically for me, how he sells it. Like a lot of the lines in the song, as I was listening through it again recently for the podcast, I was like, there's a lot of lines in the song that are some of my favorite lyrics ever. A has a ton of them. A is huge, but A is for adversary, A is for affection, A is for arousal, or give me an erection. Like, or A is for acting, A is for abhorrently. Such a nice, such a great kid. Like he takes what he's done all song with the A is for this thing, and he actually creates a full statement out of it. A is for A is for acting, A is for reportedly, A is for asshole, which is what I am. So there's just so many moments in this one where I think lyrically, and Ed does it too on his songs, which is the more of the Ed songs, but Steven, I just think lyrically, we're gonna get to the one song which I know probably is the one we'll disagree on the most, but it's but just there's so many moments on this one that just hit for me. So yeah, I think all around that's why it's my favorite album.
Okay. And then from the defense, even though you're on the same side, Noah, your opening statement.
This used to be back when like CDs were, like a thing.
Mm.
Whenever I would meet a
Miss
new
those days.
person, this would be my barometer for like I would give each new like girlfriend or
Give them the
serious
test.
friend or whatever this
Alternative
CD
girlfriend.
to see if I was like, okay, if you like me, you have to at least listen to this music. I I came to Barenaked Ladies with right when Stunt came out, and the first thing I listened to was Rock Spectac, and
Nice.
These Apples is a huge part of the ending of that, like because it goes from These Apples right into $1 million, and like it. So I knew it and Jane from that, but like it just showed the depth and the more growth and the anger and the bitterness in contrast to Gordon, which was like has darkness certainly, but was a wholly more upbeat, like positive boppy album. And this one shows that they weren't just like geeks in shorts, like were so worried about being labeled as and it's deep, and like it I don't know, like they Jim went to electric bass for most of the album, and it would like it I don't know. I love it, and I love all this. I'm sure we'll go through them individually, the different songs, but like it just I think Gordon is the best Barenaked Ladies album. I think Maybe You Should Drive is my favorite.
Right. I can see that.
Okay, I can go with that.
Good answer. I like that.
Well, you mentioned Rock Spec, and for me, Life in a Nutshell is one of my favorite
songs
of all time. And the version of Life in a Nutshell,
How did I get in this nutshell?
The version of Life in a Nutshell and Rock Spectac is phenomenal.
Yes. I honestly, because of the additions that Kevin put into it with
his magic.
The keyboard, if it's a synclavier or whatever it is, like, but that those vocal, like 60s vocal, like pop 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 pop, like at the end,
beeps and boots.
Very Beach Boysy kind of.
Yes, it just it added so much to what was already a great song,
right?
But yeah.
Well, why don't I go with you, Noah, first?
Sure.
You said this is your favorite album. Do you feel that it was presented in the correct order? Do you feel like the album was put together in the correct way?
I sort of like the track listing is all I know of it, but like I think if I was gonna change anything, I would have maybe put Intermittently first, because you have that bass growl that just like knocks your socks off, instead of like almost like the lullaby sleepy time tea of like Jane starting off. And then once it gets toward the end, there's just several sort of like stoner chill out songs in a row, like with.
although
Wrong Man is one of my very favorite Bare Naked songs because of what Steve does with his voice. Because
Yes.
he his voice breaks at the end of the song, and it's just great. And then I mean, they've been playing Great Provider forever. Like that was on Bare Naked Lunch or one of those early cassettes. And I think I read somewhere, like Kevin at one point put up a chart. He's like, number of bars in the intro to Great Provider before I joined the band, like this many. Number of bars in the intro to Great Provider after I joined the band, this many. Like, so like clearly he, I think another one was like number of accordions that are the property of Andy Cregan that I own, 4 or whatever. He took up a lot of the songs from this album and just ran with them on the various tours and everything.
Right.
But, I think, I love Little Tiny Song. I know it doesn't really belong in there. It was already on Brothers Creakin' record, or was yet to be. Or I don't remember what the order was. But like that that aside, I think the order is pretty great, because every time they lull you to sleep, they wake you up with another rocker. Like I'm blanking now, but
Everything to Alternative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeff? Would you do
gonna-
anything with the order?
Yes, I would. I was going to say the same thing. In fact, sometimes in my head canon, for some reason, I think Intermittently is the first song. So yeah, I would absolutely have started with Intermittently, and then gone to maybe Jane second.
Yeah.
So I'm not totally sold on. I mean, I love Jane. I think Jane's a fantastic song. But I don't know if it's an album opener. I would have started Intermittently because the beginning of Intermittently with the someone somewhere has unglued our like, to me that's an opener. And such an amazing part. So yeah, I would have started with that, and I don't think I would have ended with Great Provider. I probably would have ended maybe with Wrong Man or something, because I do see a lot of good albums do end with it more of a ballad song or more of a powerhouse. And I'm with you. Like, Wrong Man is Convicted is one of my absolute favorite songs, and my controversial opinion is it's one of Stephen Page's top 3 performances.
Wow.
With Break Your Heart and Off the Hook. I love that, but I might have actually ended with A, honestly. Like, start with Intermittently.
I could actually see that.
They're very thin. They both do that same kind of choral thing at the end, so I think that would be a cool bookend. But other than that, no. And then yeah, Little Tiny Song.
How funny would it be to end with Little Tiny Song?
Yeah, that
could be a secret song.
Hey, I'm a cow.
Yeah,
We're going out with a bang.
That could be a
Let the last track
that
go.
could be the dat fodder at the end of
Yeah,
the
that
little bonus.
Yeah, like I said, that's the only thing that's always kind of weird, and I like it. I like Little. I think it's a fun song, but
it's like Jim's like, "Hey, I'm here too."
Yeah, right.
I love you, Jim.
But yeah, so that would be
or Andy. No, it's Andy.
It was Andy.
It's Andy.
It's Andy.
Andy.
Sorry. Close.
The Cregan.
The
brothers
I
Cregan.
get partial credit.
Yeah.
It could have been John. No, he's still stuck in the fridge.
Okay, well, all right. What about you, Betsy? What would you do differently with this album?
I have it written down. I'm not copying notes. I actually put Intermittently as a better opener.
Ooh,
Yeah, right.
there you go.
Teacher, she
Ben Mink,
I have proof.
Ben Mink, we are like taking you to school at this point.
I also thought A could be a possible opener, but I do like Intermittently better, and a lot of it's that bass slide in the front.
Yeah,
but also it's more kind of upbeat and gets your attention. Don't hate me, Jeff, but I thought maybe a little tiny song could have been omitted. It's just like this little stray that doesn't know where its home is. It's a
Definitely
good
a
palate
dad fodder,
cleanser.
though.
Yeah, I know. It
Yeah.
could be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I could sneak it in there. It's cute. I like it. I just it's just kind of hanging out in the wings there.
If they would replace Little Tiny Song with Off the Hook, this would be the perfect Barenaked.
Oh yeah, I
You
love
can't
Off the
do
Hook.
that. They don't write that for years.
How about Polywog in a Bug? Okay, so I'm not just saying this because you're here, Noah. We had a conversation. I don't remember what we were discussing. Do you guys remember what episode it was? It was recent where we talked about Polywog, and I just
we talk about it like
I-
every other episode.
I was gonna say,
like I just came back to it because it was like stuck in my head, and I was like, "This is such a good song."
It's such a good song. Like I've said this probably 4 times on the episode that we did. About
Yeah.
it, but like we shot that video for 20 hours straight,
my
and we
God.
never got sick of hearing that
yeah,
song.
that's the true test right
Wow.
there.
It was like, on a loop because we
Yeah.
didn't have any. Like I wrote all these storyboards and like
Hmm.
the crew looked at none of them, and so we just shot coverage and like just different setups for 20 hours straight
Wow.
and basically played the song on a loop for 20 hours, and it was I still listen to it. It's my kid's favorite song.
It's so
She just
good.
asked me tonight to she said, I have to do a presentation for school on my favorite band, and I picked Barenaked Ladies. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you raised him right.
Heart grew 3 sizes.
So actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if you know this, but I don't think I initially rated it a 5. It was definitely on my best of, so it was in the 4s. But I came back and I was like, you know what? It deserves a 5.
A little bit of
So
peer
my
pressure there,
I
too.
updated. No, I mean like I'm okay with drinking the haterade, but like no, it really is a banger, and it's I'm not known to be kind towards the children's songs, but Polywog in a Bog is just
I mean, I think it's the best album. It's
It-
the best
it's-
song on that album.
yeah. It's
That
just
also would have been a perfect
good.
5 had it not been for you and Stefan.
Who's
well.
you?
I have changed.
You-
It is officially a
You
5.
changed, man.
Yes. I am
wrong
Ebenezer
man.
Scrooge on Christmas
convicted.
Day. Okay? I have been visited by the ghosts of Noah's puppets, and it's like the
They
Muppet
raised
Christmas movie, but it's Noah's puppets, and they've shown me the error of my ways,
You bought the
and I've
Christmas
rated it a
goose.
5.
Now they
Yeah,
just
well,
have to-
Stefan didn't.
Now they just have to visit.
Well, they need to
Stefan.
visit Stefan,
Right,
yeah.
that's
I'll be Bob Cratchit.
You've been visited by the ghosts of the 5 frogs that were originally
Yes.
going to be.
Ribbit,
The
you
characters
must
in that video.
re-rate it.
Yeah, one of them's missing a few toes.
This song deserves a 5, and you know it.
All right, back to this album, Betsy.
Yes, please.
You. I mean, I think that it's pretty well mixed between like the heavier songs and the not as heavy songs, or bouncier songs, whatever. But this isn't my favorite album. It's somewhere in the middle for me. But I mean, everything else isn't. I think they thought it through well, order wise. At one point, I was kind of considering where to place Great Provider, because I didn't think it's such a chill song. Like, it's like, do you want to go out on a chill song, or do you want to go on something that's like making a statement? So that one I'm still a little undecided on, but I don't know how they do it. I don't know how musicians order
I wonder
their
if, like,
albums.
if
It's
they
so hard. You
did
guys.
Great Provider, as the last song, just because they were in such a bad way, and they were like, well, we have this song that we've done for a million years. Let's just do a cover of it,
Chuck that on there.
basically. Yeah, and I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know
which is
either.
weird to say that because of how well the two harmonize on that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous
Like
harmonies.
for two that were clashing, and for that, I mean, they sound so good together on that song.
Oh, they even sounded
Yeah.
good, like on the Junos when they were playing
Yeah,
One
so
Week and $1 million. Like,
that's true. They just always sound good together. That's true.
yeah,
That's
it's just their voices.
Sounds right.
Mm.
Well, and
Yeah.
they had been
Yeah.
singing that song together
Oh,
for
yeah.
so long at
Yeah,
that
it's
point.
ingrained into their vocal cords, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't even have to be getting along at that point. They could just blast it out.
It's possible they weren't even in the studio at the same time.
That's true.
Yeah, that's also true.
Mhm.
Well, and there
Probably
was
likely.
one of the things that's important to note with this album is there was a lot more individuality and a lot more. Everything was written solely for this album, solely, I should say. So each of the people are credited by themselves. I believe maybe it's the next one. Let me double check that and get this correct.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, they had been, like stuck together 24 hours a day for like, what was it, like 4 years?
4 years
easily
up
at
to
that
this
point.
point. Yeah. Like, and they
So-
just got off a pretty major tour, so they were kind of sick of each other at that point.
Yeah.
And
Hey, you guys want to get crammed
So-
into a small space together for several weeks now?
And
Let's
make a
do
lot
this.
of important decisions and just listen to the same music over and over and work really hard.
Yeah, I know what it's like to be in close quarters recording with the band and getting frustrated with yourself or getting frustrated with your bandmates, and especially I do think most of my favorite bands had that push and pull. So like Faith No More, Pink Floyd, the Beatles, they all had kind of multiple geniuses who all wanted to go in their own direction. So there's that tension, and I think so much beauty can come out of that. But unfortunately, it's not the easiest process.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So, Betsy, question for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said you would have intermittently first. You would get rid of Little Tiny Song, but keep pretty much everything else the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Aaron, what about you?
Well, this may come as a shock considering I basically gave you an entire breakdown of how I would reorder Gordon. But I think this kind of speaks to what Noah was saying at the beginning of the episode, where this was key. This was like peak CD culture, this moment in time. So I think that I also kind of have it's a total hypothesis, and it's kind of not really based on anything, but just my intuition. But Gordon being their first real big studio album, they were probably feeling a lot of pressure, and there was probably a lot of input from execs. Whereas I do feel like this album, because Gordon was kind of a success for them, they may have been afforded a little more control. So I think they probably had more input over the order of this album, which is maybe why I really don't feel the need to change much. I did think it's funny because I was also thinking either intermittently or Alternative Girlfriend for the opener.
Oh yeah.
But when I look at it, I have multiple songs on this that are on my best of playlist or 4 or above. The highest song I rated was actually Jane, which I didn't think, because I was like, oh, I must have rated Alternative Girlfriend higher. I love that song, which I do, but I also love Jane. So opening on that song that might be considered like a potential hit or whatever is a good idea too. So I'm not sure. I can make the argument to leave that, but I do like opening with something got a little more of a kind of like, just something that grabs you a little more instantly. Having said that, other than that, I don't think I would change much other than maybe ending with A. I kind of agree with Jeff. I think that's a nice closer song. And it sort of encapsulates some of the feeling you get from the album, where it is a little darker, is a little more cynical. There's a little more of Stephen Page maybe kind of bleeding onto the page and airing some of his grievances, which I love that stuff. There's a reason that I like this album. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that wouldn't change much. I would maybe make Intermittently or Alternative Girlfriend the opener, and I would probably end on A. And I would move Great Provider maybe to like the 3/4 mark, something like where I would have put the flag on Gordon in that kind of area.
Okay.
Now that you mention it, I can see Alternative Girlfriend would be a great opener too.
Yeah, it's bouncy. That energy.
Yeah, right.
It has a hi-hat at the beginning, right? Like the
I think
hi-hat
so, yeah.
close, and then But they opened Gordon with Hello City, which is another like sleepy.
But I disagreed with
opening.
that as well.
Yeah.
and I love that
Granted,
song.
It's a greeting, but it's still
Yeah, hello,
not necessarily
thematically appropriate.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I feel like from a feel, from a
Yeah.
tone point, maybe not so much.
Right.
G level. Yeah.
What you said about like the label interference on Gordon. I wonder, do we
Pure
know that
conjecture on
that's
my
true?
part,
Like,
but
because
no,
they
that's just
were
me trying to make
like
sense of it retroactively.
socked away in like a Le Studio in like in Quebec, just like almost at a summer camp, like where it was just them insular for however long, the summer or 6 weeks, or maybe it was the winter or whatever. But like, just that's why that album is so full of like little, trinkets and
Tiny songs.
baubles and stuff, and
I
like
thought you said
that radio opening on Enid, and
Yeah.
like all the different.
Oh, I love
like,
that. That's
this
little moments
16
like
different
that.
harmonies or whatever, like because they were just so insular on, like whereas this album being the follow-up, they got, they switched up their, their friend producer, like
Yeah.
Michael Phillip, like
Yeah.
they got Ben Mink, who was, very way more famous than they were, like for working with Katie Lang and all that stuff. And so I think that they suffered a little bit from the label coming in on this one and being like, here's this, all-star producer, and like, you guys,
We're gonna make you a
have
star,
a
kid.
more electric sound or whatever. Yeah, but like,
And that's the thing.
That's actually
I
a really
agree
I
with
think they
you,
didn't get
Noel.
along with
yeah.
Ben Mink at all, or that much.
Interesting.
From what I've heard, they part of the contention was between the band and the producer, whereas on Gordon, they were, old buddies with Michael Phillip. And so,
There's a
that
lot
was
of contention between Ben Mink and the band.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of comes through a little bit too in some of this. Again, this whole album, Ben did not allow Tyler to really play. Like, Ben throughout this whole album would tell Tyler to be playing in the background, but he would cut Tyler out and would take splices of his drum
Really?
playing and
Big
just
red flag.
literally splice together these moments of Tyler's playing to make it a timed precision. And he would put
that would have
music
upset
in a
me as a drummer.
metronome on
Song
Tyler's
your
ears
song.
and make him listen to
Oh,
a
that's like a
metronome while
nightmare.
playing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Especially if you're a jazz person, because like
Yeah.
you got to have a little ability, like rushing and dragging intentionally sometimes to change the feel is actually really important.
Yeah.
Tyler did not like Ben Mink in the least.
I don't blame him. Tyler, as a drummer, I respect that. I will say I'm glad
Tyler, we know you listen. Come on.
come on the show.
Please.
He's the best.
And
drummer out
that's
there.
the come on the show.
What
running
else do we have to
gag.
do than be on here for 5 years?
Come on,
Well, not
Tyler.
5 for me, but
You're
for
just
you
gonna
guys.
like stalk us for 5 years and listen and not come on the show. What is that?
Is Andy the only one that's been on the show?
Twice.
Andy's on
Steve
well,
and-
Steve appeared.
Steve's
Oh,
been on
Steve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which awesome, and please come on again, Steve. We know you listen. But no, I think to your point, no, that's really interesting because they didn't go with that producer again, and they end up going with Susan Rogers for some.
Well, they were
Well,
told
no, they-
an amazing decision.
They went back to Michael Phillip for Pirate Ship.
He's good for them, but
and
I mean,
also
like,
for Rock Spectac too. He was
but I mean the producer for Maybe You Should Drive, like. So I wasn't aware that was something that could definitely have been like a label meddling thing. Like, we'll come in and work
it
with
definitely
this person.
was. And they were pushing a lot more. They were telling them what singles needed to go out, and there was a lot more label
Micromanaging,
pushing and micromanaging at this point.
Well, that
Jane was the first single off this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was definitely the big
Well, it's
thing.
the only one they made into a music video too.
Yeah.
I think,
No,
right? So-
Alternative Girlfriend was a music.
Yeah,
Oh,
Alternative
right,
Girlfriend.
right,
Yeah,
right,
I like
right,
that video.
right.
That's right.
You're right.
It kind of that song kind of reminded me of They Might Be Giants just a little bit.
Yeah,
The
I can see that. Yeah.
music video for Jane. I don't know if you've seen the music video compendium DVD or whatever, where they're all sitting on a bed, doing the commentary on this, and
Yes.
it gets to Andy's solo, and Kevin just goes, "That's a hammered dulcimer for all you musos out there." And then Steve,
I
it
love
cuts to
him
a shot
so
of
much.
Steve,
Shows people
and
like
Steve
us.
says,
You do
and that-
really good.
That was a really good Kevin.
That's a really good
Yeah,
Kevin.
that actually sounded.
and then but it cuts to
Yeah,
a shot of
Barenaked
Steve,
Ladies, yeah.
and then Steve says, "And there's a hammered singer for all you boozos out there."
I love Kevin's humor.
Man. Kevin set it up and Steven spiked it.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
It's and that DVD that you just showed, which nobody will see because it's an audio podcast, but like that's a great. I love that
Barenaked Ladies.
DVD. Yeah,
Your
the
Naked
DVD.
Ladies. Bear Man made Naked Ladies.
Because I think Jim like had to leave for half of it, for,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
commentary, and so
Yeah.
that like they just spent the rest of it making fun of him. When he was gone.
That sounds like something my
You need to
band would
see
have
it.
done
You
for
need to see
sure.
it. Yeah. I might own a copy.
I own a copy somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't have a DVD
I own
player
a copy
anymore.
right here, but I can't show it because I have the background on.
Yeah, the
You
only
showed it before. It was kind of showing. I could tell.
Yeah, I tried. It's
yeah, it was
not-
like sort of
You get
blending
your
in with
Aurora
your
Borealis.
Yeah.
There you go.
There.
Oh, put away your laundry, man. Come on.
It's not my laundry.
Oh, that weird Too Little Too Late video.
Not your laundry.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
it's feeling positive today.
And I would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys
Gus.
are now going to hate me, because I would make major changes to this album.
Please.
The trouble with Tracy is
So now I lost Betsy and I only have Cat Aaron talking to me.
Do that face.
I'm not
face.
sure who it's tracking. I
Some
think
weird
it's like
faces.
weird like the fly.
what is happening right now?
You're
It's
having
like
a really
I don't
bad
know what to
trip.
do.
Oh!
Now the cat is in space.
Space.
As
Whoa.
Yeah, I would. Oh, that's just
I'm stuck in the
freaky.
atmosphere. My eyes.
Zardoz.
I'm
I
not
would-
sure what suddenly kicked in on my end, but I hope it's not just me.
Oh, hang on.
And we got what the
we
we got Noah walking behind Noah
got
on
your
his.
twin
That is some
brother.
host level stuff right there.
Yeah, I would make some major changes. I feel like starting with Jane was a mistake. It's just too sedate a song to start with on a sophomore album. You know, they have a name. They were really recognized at this point. They had a sound. Go with that sound to start you off and get people pulled in. And Jane isn't necessarily the kind of sound. Excuse me.
I mean,
Kind of
my
sound that is pulling people in to this album.
I don't entirely disagree because I obviously said that I think there might be a couple of better options. But the only, in defense of it, I will say it is that and Alternative Girlfriend is one of their singles for sure, and it is a very good song.
It's a single.
Well,
It's
I'm
a
putting
single
it at the
song.
beginning.
And they may have, to your point, also like it seemed like they were trying to branch out, and this album was their opportunity to say, hey, we can do other stuff too.
Yeah.
So like maybe that was intentional to be like, okay, we'll hit him with this. It's a little different than
And I'm doing that, and I'm changing around. I'm making massive changes to this.
Okay.
And I admit it. I'm going for
Pop off, King.
for total love or total hate on this album.
let him cook.
Do I need to get the highlighter for the back here? Hang on.
Might as
taking
well
notes.
just have something that just start changing here.
Okay.
So I'm starting it off with intermittently. I've got my strongest songs pretty much to start off this album. I'm going intermittently to really knock this out of the park to start with. And then it slows down toward the intermittently and gets kind of jazzy. But that leads nicely into Jane.
Okay.
After Jane, We need to pick it up again a little bit. And I think it's one of the strongest songs on this album, Life in a Nutshell.
I can see that. I can see that. Instead of
It's
these
almost
apples,
like
that would,
like almost a start over. Like, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring you back up. I'm going to really rehook you again. I'm going to make you love this album right off the bat. And then I'm going to make you fucking love this album. Because there was a song on this album that they cut out and put it on the next album instead. And I said, what the fuck? Why would you fucking do that?
Was it Break Your Heart?
It was Break Your Heart.
Oh,
wow.
Why would you leave Break Your Heart off
Break
your
Your
song?
Heart on this
meddling
album?
here.
Oh my god.
That does
I'm
tend
putting
to put the thumb
Break
on the
Your Heart
scale.
in the number 4 spot right after
Wow.
Life in a Nutshell.
Yeah, I'm
Isn't that the one where like Tyler does like the paradiddle, like where like yeah.
Well, I mean,
And you
'Cause
have
there's all that footage from
Stevens-
the studio of them doing it.
I would say this is Steven's best vocals ever.
Break Your Heart is definitely, I agree.
It's
I
an
agree,
incredible-
100%.
Now,
Yeah,
did they
to
use the
me-
version that they recorded for this album
good
on
question.
Pirate Ship,
Or did they re-record
or did
it?
they re-record it?
They re-recorded, but we have no proof that they did it any differently. Like they've
Gotcha.
never released anything
Sure.
later.
But have they ever released this version, like the
Ooh,
maybe you
yeah,
should
if there is
drive
another
version
They
of
version,
Break
have
Your
I'd
it.
Heart?
love to hear
So
it.
all I can
That's what I
believe
wanna
is that
hear.
it's
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
I would only
The-
take it if it was similar. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Break Your
go
Heart-
for
It. I wonder if it has, because it originally had a lot more lyrics to it, like because they were playing it as early as the Massey Hall, like April '93 live show,
Yep.
where like they I can't remember, I'm blanking on the lyrics now, but like that's the version that I sing when I sing it, like the original lyrics, because it's
They're even
such
better
a
lyrics.
killer. They're better lyrics. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I agree, and I think that
And if I always seem distracted, like my mind is somewhere else, that's because it's true. Yes, it's true. I like to dream that I'm alone on my own and by myself. That means without you. Yeah, without you. I've got this feeling I don't love you anymore. And I'm not so sure that I ever did right from the start. Oh, I've got this feeling I shouldn't keep you informed, but I wouldn't want to break your heart. Pride is a sticky thing that makes me feel like I have to follow through, even half-assedly loving you. Truth is a word that I'd rather not use, 'cause it's always capitalized, and it's only falsehood in disguise. Why must I always speak in terms of cowardice?
We do it all the time.
What's kind of funny, Tracy, is when I said I would replace, like, if you could, this would be the perfect album if I replaced Tiny Little with Off the Hook. I almost said Break Your Heart.
Wow.
Because really, yeah, that would absolutely, for me,
That's
just be
pretty.
that would be peak, because Break Your Heart is one of my absolute
Yeah.
favorite songs.
Break Your Heart to me always kind of reminds me of Joe Cocker. It's that
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
raw emotion, you know. I love that song. I agree.
The ending when he just
Yeah, when
goes
he
off
just
the rails,
yeah,
that
yeah.
just chills.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
right.
beautiful.
Isn't that
Mhm.
concert
Beautiful.
where like the sound system stopped working or something, and he just like
He
put
just
his microphone down and
projected.
like started singing out into the
Oh,
audience?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So now we get to the
Tracy,
experimental part of this. Oh,
are
go
we
ahead.
sure? Are you not like blowing your load too soon?
Oh no! I've got it. It's gonna get better.
Your wad. Are we not?
It is.
You're front loading a lot of gold here, and I'm concerned we're gonna peter out if we don't.
we will go for a second load.
Did you just?
It's gonna be.
Did you just say blowing your load and petering out in the same place?
He's gonna have a refractory period with tiny little tiny songs.
And I meant to say blow your wad, but I guess that's not really much better.
So yeah,
anyway.
I'm
please
starting
don't,
off
please
strong.
don't fall, break your heart with tiny little song.
I'm starting off strong with. Oh my god!
It would just be. It would be a little tonal whiplash, I think, if you did that.
No. So I'm starting off strong. Intermittently, Jane, Life in a Nutshell, and Break Your Heart.
Okay.
Now, this is the experimental album, and it should be experimental. And there are songs that they had in their catalog that should be in here that are experimental and different and start give flavor to the album at this point. So I go into Teenage Wasteland.
Oh. You're pulling from all these different sources,
he's got all kinds of tricks up his sleeve.
You yelled at me for trying to put off the hook on the album.
Yeah.
Teenage Wasteland existed long before this.
Okay, I see.
1993.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is that's not the one that goes like first met Melly in art class in high school? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Beat Dungeons Lair on just 1 quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In my headcanon, Tracy, Steven actually had the lyrics of Off the Hook on a napkin when they were recording this album.
Ooh,
so
there you go.
So it was there. It was there.
Along with the dimensions of the Stonehenge production piece.
So then we're going from this really experimental type of song that sounds different than anything so far into another one. We're going into A.
Okay. All right.
Hey.
Yeah.
And now we've done enough experimental stuff. We need to move away
Henry
from
Winkler,
again.
come on the show. We know you listen.
I'm going into Great Provider.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pulling this back in with a ballad. And then you're
almost in Aaron's 3/4 mark there, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's about where I was put it. Maybe a couple later. But
the only thing going for it as like an album ender is, doesn't it trail off? Doesn't there like a long fade on it?
Yeah.
Like that's.
I got something to take care of that.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Go ahead.
The doctor is
You
in.
got the remedy.
From Great Provider, I'm going.
Remedy you'll appreciate. It's funny because I was thinking about the Who earlier because you said Teenage Wasteland. And I know that's not the name of that song, but I was thinking about the Who. So.
Right. So I'm going from Great Provider right into Everything Old is New Again. Another kind of ballady song, but it does pick up a lot more. And it's got some more jazzy elements again to kind of get into that typical
How does that
B&L.
one start? I'm like,
Learn to lose.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So it's just a yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the words. I just couldn't remember musically.
Yeah.
Now this is where Tiny Little Song would be
if you didn't remove it from the album.
But I removed it from this spot, and I entered in Scared Song.
Oh.
Because that is
Tracy,
a much better
crazy.
song, and it gives the talents of Jim and Andy a great breath, and we need something in there showing what these two can do.
Okay.
You don't think Little Tiny Song was showing off Andy's musicality?
I don't. I think it was actually cruel to him to put that in there.
Wow.
I do not think that is
Hot
by
take.
far his best work, and I feel like he was just being giving a big fuck you to the band for giving him like a minute of the album.
Yeah.
He deserved a full 4-minute song.
When he came on,
Scared
did
Song-
he say anything about that? About like?
Did we bring that up? I can't remember.
I don't think we asked. Did we?
Did we
What
ask
did
him?
he
Did you?
He said it wasn't his best song, but I think that if they did a formalized recording of it, he would be proud of it.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, there's some there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has pieces. And if you sit down in a studio and really bang it out and make it something special, then it's going to be great.
It's I think like this version and the Brothers Cregan version are like almost identical, aren't they? Like because it came
the
out
little
on,
tiny song.
yeah, It
Yeah,
came
they're
out on
almost
one of
exactly the same.
yeah. So I mean, I think that's what he wanted to do. Like given the
Yeah.
option and
I
he
think that's what it
probably
was supposed
honestly
to
had
be.
he had a lot of time to himself in the studio for Maybe You Should Drive because Ed and Steve just weren't there.
Mhm.
So
Also, I think if it led into something, it would feel
Yeah.
different. Like if it
Yeah.
actually tailed off and led into something bigger. I think you
Mhm.
kind of said that, but yeah, if it led, like if there was a transition and it became something, it would feel like a cool part of something.
So, I have scared song.
Here's the little song.
I'm then going into You Will Be Waiting.
Okay.
You have this upbeat song going into a ballad. And then there's another song that got left off this album that I think is a shame.
Are you making this a double album?
Yeah. It's
I
the
think
walls
I
for
think Having a
B&O
Baby
fans.
needs to be on this album.
What song?
Having
that
a,
was supposed to be on Maybe You Should Drive.
It was written in 1991. They had been playing it live by
Oh yeah, no, that's
1991.
true. Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
song was
that's
that?
right.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Stephen Page is
Stephen
having
Page
a
is
baby.
having
Page
a
is
baby.
having a baby.
Oh,
I remember that
yeah,
song.
Yeah.
Like we're getting
They
into
say
this
Steve
absurd
can
kind of
never play
jokey stuff
jazz.
again. Like it's them having fun, and I want that. I want that to be in this album and a piece of it, not all of it, but like to show they have humor.
Sorry. I initially confused Steve's having a baby with She's on Time. Because they're both
She's not on time.
Right, exactly. But like you're right, I love like there's that great like mouth trumpet.
Yeah.
Like in the middle where they're like
yeah.
Stephen Page is playing a solo.
Who knew Steve could never play jazz?
Yeah. Where will it come out when I give birth?
It's just really
great.
funny and silly and
But that
thumbing his nose at people
it
being
belongs on Gordon for that reason because it's a silly,
I could
kinda
see it
goofball of a
being on
song.
Gordon. I hadn't put it on Gordon. That's why I threw it on here, but it would definitely fit on Gordon as well.
I think Ben Mink would have been like, no, it's not serious enough.
Oh, I would have kicked Ben Mink out the door if I had had the chance. This is a Tracy
kick him right in the
production.
mink.
Make a mink coat.
And speaking of Gordon, by the way, I'm then going from having a baby into Blame It On Me.
Okay.
Because I did not put it
Blame
on
it on
Gordon.
me for
I took it off
having a
Gordon.
baby.
Blame it on the rain.
Blame it on the baby.
I think it's still
Blame it on
good
the
enough,
baby.
but this is the sophomore thing. Like, we're going to get into the serious a little bit. Like, show that these guys can be serious and kind of go into this.
No, that was Alan
interesting
Parsons'
stuff.
project.
And then I'm going into Am I the Only One? So I'm going back and forth between Steve and Ed as much as I can at this point.
Probably a good idea.
And then I'm finishing the album. After Am I the Only One? I'm going into Alternative Girlfriend.
That's a good closer.
That's a closer. Yeah.
That's a closing song.
That
if
one
I
gets
ever heard
coffee.
one.
Coffee's
Yeah.
for closers.
But I'm not finishing the album on Alternative Girlfriend because I've got a hidden track.
Oh, but wait,
Oh.
there's more. Little Tiny Song.
Yeah.
Lilac Girl.
Oh.
And then I'm throwing in a second hidden
But
song.
wait, there's more.
of
You are
tiny,
making a double
little
album.
tiny song.
Okay, so I actually kind of agree. I think as a hidden song, as a little, oh, that's delightful. Like,
Yeah,
you left it
yeah.
on, you're going to sleep, you left the CD play, and you're like, oh, that's the last song. Like,
Yeah,
after
you
all
finish
that,
off
it's
Lilac
silence.
Girl. Yeah, that would be good. That would-
And then wait
Lilac
10
Girl.
seconds and then, hey, I'm a cow.
I think that would be kind of cool. Actually.
It's
Yeah.
Lilac Girl, but it's played on a phonograph. Like it's a recording
Yeah,
of the
like,
phonograph
yeah,
as the
yeah.
scratches and
Yeah.
pops
It's
of the original recording from when they did it in Steve's
at
basement
11.
or whatever.
Back to you, Deborah.
Yeah.
All right, so that last week I got panned
There's
for my
no way we can
organization.
cast her,
What
but-
do you guys think of my album?
I
I
think.
like it. I like
I'll
it.
Yeah,
buy it.
I
I
think.
like it.
I think
I would
I
buy
like
it.
this. Yeah,
I think
um,
with the Beatles like putting out all those like super long like double length deluxe versions or whatever. I think that this could be the super long deluxe edition.
this
of,
is the Smiley Smile.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of Maybe You Should
The
Drive.
Beatles.
In my headcanon now, Break Your Heart is on Maybe You Should Drive. I'm never thinking of it any other way.
That would kick that album up even more. Like, wow.
Yeah. Like, what was Ben Mink thinking?
Although,
what were you thinking?
I'd be curious
What
to
were
know
you
how that would
thinking?
impact, how that would impact Born on a Pirate Ship, because without that, that album is strong.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm gonna have to rethink Born on a
You'll
Pirate
have to
Ship
reckon,
next week.
because you gotta account for that next week. You can't include it because you've used it, buddy.
You're gonna be moving stunt songs over to Boat.
Oh, he's gonna. Oh man,
no! You can't do that.
He's robbing John Lennon to pay Paul McCartney.
That's okay. I have a plan for next week still.
Okay.
I still got some good songs tucked away. So you will notice I left Wrong Man Was Convicted off.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yes.
That now becomes a B-side.
Wow.
I'm not a big fan of that song, but I think it still deserves to be released. So I am B-siding that. And I'm going to probably put that on the B-side
ourselves with you.
Yeah.
I think I would B-side that with Life in a Nutshell.
You're the king of B-side management.
You were pouring salt.
He's not the tiny little cow that lived next door.
Oh, God.
And
Tracy,
then these apples.
You just took off 2 of my 5 songs.
Tracy, we all ripped into you for your Gordon reorder, and we were like, dude, great job. And now you're just like you're trying to make us angry.
I'm being honest.
Stirring the pot. Yeah,
I took these apples off.
Finish.
You did take these apples off.
I'm putting that on the Maybe You Should Drive. I mean, on the Shoebox side B. And then I'm also keeping Trust Me as a side B as well.
Yeah, I couldn't do Maybe You Should Drive without Life in a Nutshell. Wrong Man definitely.
No, Life in a Nutshell's still on it.
Oh, you kept it on there, but yeah, Wrong Man though needs.
I took Wrong Man and these apples and made them into B-sides.
Okay, I thought you said Life in a Nutshell's off too.
That way they're still out there, even though I don't like them.
That caused me physical pain, Tracy.
No.
I know.
Does Trust Me have the I want you, you want me, I want you not to want me in it? Is that
Just me,
like
just me to let
Yes.
you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need you to need me to leave me, needing you to leave or something? Yeah.
I want you to leave.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So yeah, that's my reorder.
Well,
I like this album, but I feel like it could have been made better.
I feel like I am more in agreement with your reorder for this album than I was for Gordon. I think I like a lot of your choices here.
You really put it in a blender, but I do.
But a
like
nice smoothie came out.
Yeah, a nice smoothie, but you left out a few key ingredients, I think.
He used stevia instead of
I guess-
real sugar.
Yeah, that's right. I can tell there's an aftertaste.
It's good for you, though.
It's good for you.
See, now I gotta be here next week so I can get sweet revenge with my book pre-order. Spider in your room.
Oh, we're starting a war here, folks. We're getting into the holy war now.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna pick between,
That's just revenge.
What's that, Noah?
If you're gonna pick between Spider in My Room and what is the other Jim song?
In the Drink?
In the Drink, yeah.
I would, Spider, yes.
Oh, In the Drink is going in the drink next week.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Wow.
Okay. We'll save it for next
Well,
week.
Save
yeah.
it for next
So
week,
you know to tune in next week because there's going to be lots of drama, apparently.
Dromedaries.
Next week it gets interesting because we get to have a lot of fun with next week. But there's also a lot of songs that got left off that I am excited to put in next week. So I hope people will come back and listen for that.
I almost want to come back for next
Yeah,
week.
I do.
You
too.
should.
You guys
I
should
do.
come back as
I really
often
do
as you
wanna come
like.
back. Yeah.
Open door, buddy.
I will
open
never
door.
tell people not to come back.
Yeah.
No. I'd really love to be here for these reorders. This is fun. I just got to stop rating stuff. That's fine.
I know, right?
Damn that productive, creative brain of yours.
Well, do you guys have any final
I'm just
statements
gonna send all my
about
production duties over
Maybe
to
You
someone
Should
else from now on.
Drive?
Outsource it.
I I knew I liked this album, but I had forgotten how many songs that I really, really appreciated. I also feel like there's a few of them in review that I probably would rate higher. This has been a theme with these earlier albums as we review them. Um, like Alternative Girlfriend, I rated it a 4.5. I can't think of a reason not to give it a 5. It's a really good song.
I think Heidi and me both gave it 5s.
I think so.
The notion that I actually like it less now.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Finding out that Ben Mink was such a dick to Tyler.
Oh yeah.
Makes me dislike it. You know, like, because how are you going to be mean to like the sweetest?
Oh, he seems like the nicest
like,
dude.
Yeah.
Tyler, come on the show. No, you listen.
I like the live versions of Alternative Girlfriend better just because of that.
Right. Yeah.
Is that the song that he like made him play to a Mr. Holland's Opus click or whatever? Like,
I would call it a whiplash
on
click.
his football helmet.
Oh, such a good movie.
I had a professor
in
school
this.
who made me play along to a metronome, and it was hell.
Mhm.
Like that semester could not have gone over quickly enough. I was like, dude, this is jazz. What? We're going to school for jazz.
The only thing fun about playing to a metronome is like fucking with the time and like letting it save you and coming back to, you know, like
it's about communication between the players, and you make eye contact and you all land on the same place and stuff like that. To me, is where the beauty of jazz is like from. So like, it just seemed really antithetical to that, which is. He was an amazing musician. The dude played trumpet for Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So like. The guy knew what he was talking about.
Ben Mink?
No. His name was Chuck Winfield.
Okay.
Yeah. And Chuck, I think if you're still out there listening, I appreciate everything that you imparted to me, and playing drums in a funk band with you in college was amazing. But yeah, I hated that fucking metronome.
I think Tyler...
I could see if you had like Pete Best on the drums, why you would put him on a metronome.
Yeah. Tyler needed to be a little more
Best
Ringo in that moment where, you know, Ringo famously, somebody tried to put him on a click once and he just growled at them. He's like, I am the fucking click.
Drums.
I am the click commander.
Yes,
Ringo is the reason that drum thrones have backs on them now. Like Ringo invented the back to the drum throne because he was in the studio for
it's uncomfortable after a while,
waiting for John and Paul and George to get their acts together and like actually play something.
He looks so miserable in some of that footage from Get Back.
Because
I feel
George
really
is
bad.
there like, Mal, get us a sandwich. Mal, can you go order me some shoes? I want a tie. You know, like they're just drinking tea and getting stinkier. Like it just and Ringo's sitting there like,
or Ringo.
Heather McCartney come in and like, you know, Linda's daughter came in at one point and got Ringo in trouble because she started playing his hi-hat along on some song, and then at the end of it, either John or Paul was like, Ringo, not so much hi-hat next time, and like he looks at I love those. I wish somebody would find footage from like maybe You Should Drive or Pirate Ship or the studio or something and do like a Get Back style, you know, because I watched Get Back probably 4 times just to just live in the gross smelly basement, you know, in like Apple in 1970 or whatever it was.
Well, and it was so great seeing Ringo on that film. Like, he was just miserable watching John and Paul and George have such drama and tension. But then when he finally got to play and was just playing, you could just see him just like he was in the moment and having so much joy.
And we're going off track, but like one of my favorite things about watching the 6 hours of it or whatever was seeing how even the Beatles, like their songs sounded shitty up until the moment when they recorded them, and then they were the perfect versions that we know, like something in the way she moves attracts me like a pomegranate. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's, like it just gave me so much hope for uh, any musician playing in a studio with their friends. Just like your songs are going to sound like garbage until you get the perfect version, and then it sounds perfect.
I really have enjoyed having this conversation with you guys. I love these albums. I think as a sophomore album, it's a really good album all the same. And it deserves to be where it is. It could be better, but it's still a really good sophomore album. And the fact that like the Canadian audiences did not give it the love that it deserved really makes me sad. But also knowing that they didn't give it the love it deserved led to Born on a Pirate Ship, which was a little bit of a down. It going down and the studio going, we trust you, we believe in you, and we know that we can sell in America. We're gonna go out and we're gonna record you live. That's what you're good at, and we're gonna really bump up this next. We're really gonna just bump up this next album, this live album, so we can really get out there and get America to love you. And then they did Rock Spectac, and they took off.
I was gonna say I agree with Noah. I mean, as we're talking, like if I'm really being honest, do I think it's their best album? No, I think that would be Gordon or possibly even Stunt would be their best album. Or and like you could make a case for all this. I think for me, this one, there's a lot of emotional stuff attached to it too. I remember this was probably the second BNL album. I got into BNL around the time of Maroon. I knew of 1 week. But I think this was probably my second album I bought. And I remember cruising along, driving to Intermittently and just blasting it and A and Life in a Nutshell. And so to go back and I re-listened to the whole album for the podcast. I do listen to this one a lot, but I went back and I listened to it all again. And just every song, I'm like, yeah, I just love it. I love it. So yeah, there's a lot for this one. I think that's more of an emotional kind of thing for me too.
Yeah, me too. I have a maybe you should tour t-shirt that I got signed by probably Kevin and all the rest of the four, and then I saw Brothers Cregan here in Chicago a couple years later, and I brought it with me, and I had Andy sign it there, and he was like, "Whoa, I've never seen this shirt," or I can't remember what he said. It was something like that, but and then like years later, my then ex-girlfriend texted me and was like, "Hey, I found something of yours. I think you want." And so I went back and she pulled out this old, like t-shirt that was signed. She's like, "I knew that you would want this." So like,
yeah, that's cool.
That's
very cool.
This album means a whole lot to me, even though it didn't mean a whole lot to the people, that were listening to it at the time. Like they called this tour, like maybe you should throw thousands of dollars out of a suitcase, like they wanted to just drive down the highway with a suitcase full of money open on the top. And, but I think it got the shaft royally. I think it's a lovely album, and it should have done a lot better for how much trouble they had making it. Like,
well, thank you guys for joining me. And I really do honestly hope to get to see you next week.
Sure.
Thanks. That was fun.
Hey, this is John Moses and Tyler Morrison from the Fight Stories podcast.
And we want to welcome everyone from Pantheon to check out the podcast that goes from pros to average Joes.
We got MMA champs, boxing champs, NHL tough guys, funniest comedians in the world. And of course, stories from guys like your drunk Uncle Tommy on Thanksgiving.
That's right, because we're the voice of the streets, and we want to hear from you guys. Because what's better than hanging out with your crew and reliving the old glory days?
Stories like Rigby, who put that guy's head through a popcorn machine in front of his 5- and 6-year-old son while eating chicken wings at the bar.
It doesn't get any better than that. Everyone has a fight story. We want to hear yours.